Hey Discovery, welcome to a new week and a new series of devotionals on being in Christ. Now we hear that phrase, those two words, in Christ, a lot. And I think because we hear it a lot and we read it a lot in the Bible over the years, sometimes we lose the value of what it really is, and we might not even associate the true meaning of being in Christ to our spiritual walk and our spiritual maturity. So I look forward to going through this with you, with the other pastors on staff, so that we can deepen our understanding of what it means to be in Christ and really dig into some of these scriptures. Paul writes about being in Christ a lot in the New Testament. He's writing letters to the churches in the area at the time and really teaching them about Christ, about their doctrine and theology and what it means to be a believer. And those books really, Ephesians, Galatians, Colossians, even in Corinthians, you can read a lot about what it means to be in Christ. And I was trying to think of something, just a practical example from something that we are familiar with that will help us to understand what it means to be in Christ. And what came to mind for me was the parable that Jesus told about the prodigal son. Now we know that Jesus told stories in order to relate spiritual truth and spiritual principles, but sometimes we overlook what's really going on in that story because we're so focused on the prodigal and what he did and the decisions and choices that he made. But really that story is to be focused on the love of the Father and the pursuing the passionate love and acceptance that the Father had for his son unconditionally. No matter what choices he made, he welcomed him back. But think about this, when relating to in Christ, I think it's important for us to understand from that story the practical side. Where did the prodigal son start out? Where was he in the beginning? Before the story even starts, we can just know that he was a son. He started out on the lap of his daddy. He started out growing up as a toddler, playing with his dad, his father. He grew up in that home. He belonged there. He started in the heart of his father. Then he made some poor choices. He moved out into a sinful world, and he was drawn back into the Father's home, the Father's heart, and the Father's love. That's a great picture of what it is to be in Christ. We have to first understand that we start in the heart of the Father before anything else, before any choices that we make, before sin has any impact on us. We started as a seed in the Father's heart, and we're born into this world, and we do have an impact of sin on us and the free will of ourselves and others. But because of what God did through the life of Jesus, we are redeemed back to the heart of the Father, and we have the ability then, the capacity and the privilege to live in Christ because of Christ's work, because of what Jesus did, because of his righteousness as ours. Then we live in Christ with God the Father. There are so many scriptures that we can add to this, and I'm sure that we will touch on them over the next couple of days in devotions. But one that we've focused on a lot as a family is Ephesians 2:10. And the last part of that verse gives us some insight. It says, we are God's masterpiece. We are created in Christ Jesus to do good works that God's planned for us long ago. When we think about the verse in Galatians that says we are new creation, we are born again, we are to live in Christ. I want you to think about this every time now you hear that, in Christ. As we go through this study and we talk about being in Christ, it's a returning to our place of origin. It's a returning to the heart of the Father where we began. I look forward to going through this with you and with the other pastors here at Discovery, and we're just going to dig in and get some new revelation on this and understand how we can live in Christ and how that will impact the world around us. Look forward to seeing you soon.